I was born and bred in Nantymoel. I was born actually in 5 Glenavon Terrace where my auntie still lives. So I'm a local boy who perhaps has made good. But what I want to talk to you about today is basically this. How can we make a difference to the night skies around us? And you might think that the night skies are, neither here nor there really. They're one of the things that you miss out on because you're asleep. Well, I don't. So I want you to enjoy the skies just as much as I do. Now, what I want to start with is a poem. It's called Friends of Mine by Richard Herbert Mann. And if I can remember it, it goes, "The stars are friends of mine, to lofty heights. When falls the sombre canopy of night, my spirit flies and treads with them the highways of the skies. I leap from world to world while they rehearse the mighty chorus of the universe. I explore skies of azure blue, sprinkled with diamonds of varied hue. I seek the lost Pleiad through skies aflame and learn from her the secret of her shame. Stars regard this world and shake with mirth at all the customs of our lowly earth. Great wisdom and great mysteries they know. They tell the tales of long ago. Here time was born, and chaos held its sway, and darkness had a mantle over day. Why should I prize the boasted things of earth, when I can walk with stars and share their mirth? To know their wisdom is to be divine. I'd rather walk with stars, they're friends of mine." I want you to feel the same about them as encapsulated in that poem there, because the night sky is slowly disappearing. This is a photograph that was taken some time ago by myself. There's my daughter looking over Cardiff. You can see what it's like to lose the night sky. If you go out on any one night, you can probably count, they say, about 3,000 stars. If you go out in a town, you can count about 500 if you're lucky. If you go to Cardiff or a major city, you are very fortunate to see 10 these days. And we are losing the night sky, we're losing our friends for the simple reason that we're just lighting it up. And we are forgetting what is up there. Our heritage is in the night sky. The tales of ancient times all come from the night sky. So when we're looking at something like this, it looks great with all the stars there. But the problem is that this is a bit of a long exposure photograph. It's about 5-6 seconds actually. You can see the movement of the stars as well. And it brings out all that we are losing. But there are things that we can do about it. I've been working along with a company called Dark Sky Wales for some time, and we are reclaiming our heritage of the night. Just to the north of us, we have the Brecon Beacons International Dark Sky Reserve, which I was involved in. Then we've got Snowdonia National Park, which is an international dark sky reserve. The Ellen Valley, a dark sky park, and various bits and pieces everywhere across Wales, where we have discovery centres looking directly at the night sky and enabling people to enjoy it, to just get out and, reclaim it in some respects. Because a lot of people talk about mental health today, and mindfulness and things like that, which is all very well. But being under the night sky is one of those things that really brings that joy down to you, that compassion for the rest of the persons around you, for the planet that you're on. It makes you think about things when you're looking up at the night sky. As I said, I'm from Nantymoel. I used to go camping up in the old quarry by the reservoir at the top of Nantymoel. And I wasn't a very good camper because most of the time I'd be sitting there with my head outside of the tent, looking at the night sky from a very, very young age. And I remember you couldn't even put a pin between the stars on a summer's night. And yet, we are beginning to lose it. And reclaim it too at the same time. This is a photograph I took a little while back from Brecon, and where we've got telescopes and we've got people to come up and enjoy themselves. But we also do that everywhere. We've done it down at Park Slip, we've done it down at Puthcall, we've done it, over most of the valleys. But it's a case of the night sky is one of the most important things you can possibly reclaim, because it gives you, in some respects, a sense of purpose, a sense of environmental concern, and a sense of well-being, which is all important. Now, the problem is that, of course, we live in a modern world. It's a photograph that I was lucky to get because I took it out of the window of a plane coming into East Midlands Airport, and it's one of the seminal sort of points you see in Nottinghamshire, this enormous power complex here. The problem is that, yes, we have to have the lighting, we have to have this, we have to have that. But did you know, according to DEFRA, we spend £1.2 billion a year lighting up the night sky? I want to ask you a question. How many of you are asleep at 2 a.m? Raise your hands. Unless you've got kids, of course. We know what it's like. Yeah, of course you are. Usually, so am I. But of course, when I'm working or when I'm enjoying myself out there, I have to contend with the fact that we're lighting up the sky for no apparent reason. It's just over 100 years, in fact it was in 1913, that the first village in Wales had street lighting, and that was Amlwch up in Anglesey. Since that time, we've just poured money down the drain, lighting up the sky for no apparent reason, because none of us are enjoying it, are we? None of us are here. None of us are up looking at the stars, but we are losing them because those lights are on all night. There is no real need for them. And thankfully, we are making inroads with local government, local authorities and so forth. And you can see with BCBC here that new street lighting has been installed, and it is lowering that problem of light pollution. But we're still spending £1.2 billion a year for no reason at all. We don't need lighting at night. We are human beings. We've been around for about 144,000 years. We may do without it before that. And in a modern world, we can make do without it now. People say to me, well, what are we going to do in the dark? Sleep. That's what we usually do, isn't it? Or what about transport and things like that? Well, doesn't your car have headlights? There are ways and means around this kind of thing that I want to bring out to you, because reducing your lighting is key, and it's so simple to do. We are so afraid of crime, and actually it's more a fear of crime than actual crime itself, because most crime is carried out by opportunists, especially robberies, especially burglaries and break-ins. It's very rare that your house is going to be broken into by a professional thief. What have you got that he wants? Everyone's got TVs, everyone's got hi-fis, everyone's got cars, everyone's got this, that and the other. They can take their pick from wherever. It's even in rural areas where, of course, rural crime is on the increase. It's a case of they have multi-million-pound machinery that is worth an awful lot. We can't compete with that kind of thing. Not in your own home, unless you've got a John Deere tractor parked outside it or something. It's not the kind of thing that we need to worry about, and yet we go over the top. We've got security lighting right, left and centre, which is responsible for a lot of the glare, actually, because these things, necessary though some of them may be, are in fact misplaced. The way in which the light spill overflows into the night sky is quite something. And how many people have got a 500-watt bulb in the living room of their house? Hands up. Yeah. Can you imagine what it would be like? It'd be like this. It would be incredible. So why put a 500-watt bulb in your garden? And yet that's what most of these security lights are all about. What we end up with is glare all over the place, deep shadows where, if there are thieves about, they can hide in. And what we generally find is that from government figures, from the Metropolitan Police and other studies that have been done over the last 25 years, is that they don't reduce crime at all. There's actually no difference in all those years, despite the increase in the lighting. It remains as a factor that we can basically just ignore because they can utilize the lighting. This is what we try to do with farmers in rural areas. Isn't it better to be in the dark? What's more suspicious? Someone going around with a torch in the dark in your property, or you lighting the entire place up and making it a visible spectacle from 50 miles away? This is the problem that we face. So what we can do is reduce our lighting, reduce it externally and reduce it internally. How many people end up watching the TV without the lights on these days? Yeah, good. Yeah, most people. Well, why do you need the lights on to find the remote? It's usually on your lap, isn't it? That's where most people are. In my case it is, because otherwise the wife will be watching rubbish all the time. But it's one of those things that you've got to, think about. Reduce your own lighting, reduce your energy intake. We know that, fossil fuels are very, very bad for the environment. We don't need to continue burning them to keep the lights on. Going over to renewables is a great thing, but that's still generating electricity that we will waste at night. The difference that it can make just reducing your input is quite something. This is a village in Scotland. It's called Plockton, and this is the difference that it made just to the front there by reducing the lighting, by putting in white LEDs. And you can see that, the spill is everywhere in the top photograph, and in the bottom it's much, much better. In fact, now you look up the valley from, look down the valley from Nantymoel, look up the valley from where I live in Blackmill. It really is quite something to see the valley as it is now with reduced lighting, and you can actually see the streets rather than the glare. It's much better. Why do this? Well, because of this. Our entire lives are in some respects ruled by the stars in ways in which we don't even characterize or recognize ourselves. Why are there 7 days in a week? What a stupid question. There's always been 7 days in a week. Well, the reason is because they're the 7 moving objects that ancient people could see in the sky. Today is Sun Day. Tomorrow is Moon Day. Tuesday, the Old Norse form Mars. Odin's Day, Wednesday, Mercury. Thor's Day, Jupiter. Freya's Day, Friday, Venus. Saturn Day, speaks for itself, doesn't it? Why are there 360 degrees in a circle? Let's face it, I'm standing on one now. Okay? If you wanted to divide this up, I don't think the number 360 would be the first thing that popped into your head, would it? You'd want a nice round number. The reason why there are 360 degrees in a circle is because it's the movement of the sun around the sky. It takes 360 days, from the point of view of a naked eye astronomer, to go from one constellation of the zodiac all the way around to the next, to back to where it started. So our mathematics are based upon astronomy. Algebra was invented by Al-Khwarizmi to understand the movement of the planets. I don't expect many people, apart from myself, to go playing with algebra all the time. I'm a professional astronomer, sorry I have to do that. But our stories come from here as well as the everyday daft things. Let me give you just a taste. Just up here on the top end, just disappearing, is the constellation of the Great Bear. It's in ancient Celtic mythology, it's connected to several different constellations. It's a woman riding a horse. We haven't got a clue what her name is because the Welsh never wrote anything down. We didn't, yeah. We had an oral tradition. And then along come the Romans, and what did the Romans ever do for us? Well, of course, they left us a script, and we began to write things down. The Romans called this woman Berecynthia, and she's riding a horse because she's a queen of the dead, and she would ride the horse around the sky as this constellation came down, touched the ground, and took away the souls of the departed, and took them up to the Arawn, or the other world, where they would go to be with the Twilight Teg, or the fairy folk. One day, the keeper of the Arawn, Gwydion, could see so many people arriving. He was used to old people, he was used to young babies, but not people like us, of all ages. And so he went to this lady and said, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, I know I'm a goddess, but I'm getting old. My eyesight isn't what it used to be. I can't see them if they're alive or dead in the dark. So what I do is I creep into the house, put my hand on their chest, see if they're breathing. But my touch is the kiss of death. They die and I take them with me because I haven't got a clue. What am I meant to do?" And he said, "Look, you've got to find another way of determining at night if they're dead or alive before you bring them up here." And so she went away and thought, "Well, I'm doing all the work. I'll get my horse to stick its head in through the windows of the Celtic homes and breathe on them, and his foul breath will disturb them in their sleep. I'll see them thrashing about, and I know that they're alive." And that's what she's been doing ever since. Taking the dead away, keeping the live ones there. But her visit, and the visit of the horse, leaves a mark, because you might be thrashing around in your sleep and having a vivid dream because you've been visited by the nightmare. That's where it comes from. Okay? Yeah. You're all going, "Oh, no," yeah. You see how important the night sky is, isn't it? You know, it's incredible. And even within Welsh mythology, we got fantastic tales about, the planets and the moon, for instance. Did you know there's a rabbit on the moon? To be fair, it's upside down, all right? It's difficult to see. If the laser pointer works, well, it doesn't really. Over on the right-hand side, you've got the head and the ears drooping downwards, and then the back coming along here to the big fluffy tail, and then the rest. It looks like roadkill, to be honest. Okay, it looks like something that's been run over. But the reason why there's a rabbit in the moon is because Ceridwen is the goddess of the moon, and she had a really ugly son called Envis, who she was ashamed of, and so did what all good Welsh mums do. She hid him in a room away from everybody, and then realized that there was a potion that could make him beautiful. So she got all the ingredients of the potion together, got them in a cauldron on a big fire in a nice little cottage, and then realized when she was reading the script that it had to be stirred for a year before it would work. She didn't have that kind of time, so she got two boys involved, Dylan and Gwion. And after a week of stirring the mix and adding water and messing about with the ingredients, Dylan ran off. He couldn't be bothered anymore. He was bored, left Gwion to it. So poor Gwion was left with this problem. And of course, he was adding to the mix and adding water and getting exhausted because he was up 24 hours a day. And eventually he fell asleep. When he woke up, the cauldron was hissing, it had run dry. And in his haste to get water, he caught his cloak on the cauldron and pulled it off the fire, and it disgorged the contents all over the floor of the cottage. In desperation, running after it, he stopped it. The last few drops came out in his hand, burned him, and he done what we all do. Stuck his fingers in his mouth and swallowed the last drops, which turned him into a changeling. The process wasn't ready. Knowing he was in trouble, he began to run away, but Ceridwen was descending from the moon to come and see how things were getting on. She spotted him running, so she shouted after him, and he turned into a hare and ran off. She turned into a fox and ran after him. He thought, well, she's going to catch me. Foxes are quicker. So he leapt into a river and became a salmon. She jumped in and became an otter and began to nip at his tail. So he leapt out into a field of wheat and became a ear of wheat. She leapt out and became a greedy hen and couldn't see the wood for the trees. She ate everything in the field, including poor Gwion. I can see that ancients didn't have a lot of knowledge about medicine or how things work, because she became pregnant after eating him. And 9 months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, who she called Shining Brow, or Taliesin. And he became one of our most famous poets. So we're connected, aren't we, to the night sky and the things in it, through our stories, through our imagination, through just enjoying the sights that are up there. Our valley's not doing too bad. This is a photograph I took from the top of the bulk back in October, and you can see that there's plenty of darkness around. Yes, the lights are there in the valley, but look beyond. Just in the top left here, you've got Saturn. You've got parts of Capricorn and the spoon of Sagittarius, or the bow of it going down there. Bridgend is pretty well lit up, but we are working on that, because I think it's important that we conserve the night sky and that we remember the tales that come from it. It's essential to us that we do that, because ultimately the stars are friends of mine, and I want you to be their friends too. Thank you.